Welcome to the Spurs 9501 podcast. From Kane to the Lane, the final say on all things Tottenham. Here are your hosts, Steve, Ray, Cam and Jam.
Everybody, welcome back to the Spurs 9501 podcast. Welcome back to all our YouTube viewers and our podcast listeners. I've got a very welcome face has returned today. We're all very happy to see Cam. Welcome back, buddy.
Welcome back, Cam.
Thanks, guys.
This is Ray in London, Steve in London, and Cam in Florida.
Hi. Hello, guys.
We seem to be doing this again. We're talking about another Spurs defeat in a final, although we haven't had that many finals. Let me go through the teams. I'm going to try and do it through my memory. So we've got Lloris in goal, right back Aurier, centre backs Dyer and Alderweireld, left back Reguilon, midfield of Winks and Højbjerg, top three of Son, Moura and Lo Celso, and up front Harry Kane returned from injury. So that was the lineup. Cam, do you want to give us a few stats?
It's an easy day for me for stats because Tottenham aren't really prolific when it comes to trophies. We have won the League Cup 4 times. I believe Steve and me were there when we won it in against Leicester, I think 1999. And I also remember being there with Steve in 2009 when we lost penalties to Man United when Aaron Lennon missed an open goal. We then lost in 2015, I believe, but this is another loss. So win 4 times, lost the final 5 times.
Okay,
that's
great.
Our League Cup record.
Any match stats, or we haven't got the match stats?
Really, I mean, I haven't really got the match stats, but okay. I mean, possession-wise, I mean, I think it was like something like 75 to 25. I mean, we could talk about the match stats as we go along, because I mean,
I can call up the match stats here, guys. I think it's important that we tell our viewers what the match stats were. But you guys, sorry. So let me go through the match stats. So I'm going to take Cam's place for today. So possession-wise, Man City had 62%. We had 38%, which is better than what I thought it would. They had 21 shots. We had 2. They had 4 on target. We had 1. They had 8 corners. We had 3. They got 11 fouls. We got 11 fouls. So let's start with Steve first. Steve, talk through the lineup, and then I'm going to come to Cam about his thoughts. What do you think about Rayson Mason's lineup?
Well, it had a definite Mourinho tinge to it, didn't it? Bale didn't start. I thought he would start. He didn't. I wondered if Kane was fully fit, to be honest. I suspect he wasn't 100%. But then I suspect De Bruyne wasn't 100% either. Oh dear, we still had Aurier in there. He didn't go with Ndombele, which I thought might give us a bit of something else other than, defend and see what happens. So I think it was an uninspiring lineup, really. Aurier, I think, he should go now, really. You still think that Son, Kane and Lucas on their day could do something, though. So, in terms of the lineup, I thought we might get something on the break here.
Okay.
The rest of it was very much a Mourinho lineup, I would say.
Yeah. Cam, your thoughts on the lineup?
Well, my thoughts on the lineup were, I have to mention this about Lo Celso. I thought Lo Celso should be renamed the Ghost because he appeared on the team sheet and then disappeared for 45 minutes.
He did have a shot.
That was the second half. Reappeared for a few times where he misplaced the ball and gave it back to City straight away and then disappeared again. I really had to think twice and even notice that he was on the pitch. So I'll name him Ghost 1. And I named Son Ghost 2 because he seemed to have a really great ability to avoid the ball. I think he was playing dodgems. He wasn't playing football. And when you have 2 of your key players completely AWOL in the first 45 minutes, you saw what we saw, which was a team which, if City had just woken up a bit, they could have been 5-0 up in about 20 minutes. So for me, the lineup, glad Ndombele wasn't there. But these 2 really in the lineup, after their performance, I was very disappointed. I thought Bale should have started.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what I thought, I wouldn't have started Lo Celso. I would have started on Ndombele. I know, Cam, you don't like him, but it gives you that little bit of you don't know what, he can make the killer pass into the centre. So, and I would definitely have started Bale. I would definitely have started Bale on that. Aurier, I think we've got no choice. We don't have any other right backs. So other than that, I agree with the team.
Oh.
But let's go through the first half then, Steve. I mean, pretty much one-way traffic. I mean, one of the commentators said it was attack against defence. Well, we know what happened,
Yeah.
Steve, but let me ask you, why do you think it happens? Is it Man City are so good, or did we play into their hands? What do you think?
I'm sure. Well, look, Man City are good, but have I seen them? Have I seen them play against a team like Spurs playing like that? I'm not sure I have. Would Fulham or Sheffield United put up such a limp display? I'm not sure they would have done. But teams like Burnley, West Brom would have stood toe to toe against them, and we didn't. We backed off. We gave them possession. The only times we did get a little bit of possession, they fouled us because they didn't like that. They don't like you getting possession. And Moura got kicked 3 or 4 times. And I will say, I thought Moura was our only player who was giving them any trouble at all. He was going past players, and I think they were nervous of him. But apart from that, absolutely nothing. I don't know what the game plan was. I mean, if it was to try and sniff out a chance from a corner, we weren't having any corners. Or from a free kick, we weren't having any free kicks. We lost possession on the edge of our box. That's what we did. We played it short and lost possession in our half. That's what we did. I thought, well, let's go long and lose possession in their half. At least they've then got to come forward a bit to get to get a shooting opportunity. I thought I couldn't see what the tactics were. I don't know why Tanganga wasn't playing again, because I thought he's solid and he gives us something that Aurier doesn't if he plays in that position. Kevin De Bruyne wasn't on fire today.
No,
I know he got in the second half, he got an assist, but he wasn't. But then he could miscontrol the ball, and we weren't close enough to him to get it. We were standing off them all the time. We were lucky to go in 0-0 at half time.
But why were we standing off them, Steve? Why did we? Because it's not
I don't
Mourinho in charge.
know.
Can't blame Mourinho for this.
No, this is. I mean, all I can think of is that they're not going to play for Mason. I don't know who they're going to play for. They were slow, disinterested, I would say.
Yeah, I didn't think it's the first cup final in God knows how long.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't. I couldn't believe it. I mean, we wear our heart on our sleeves, don't we, as Spurs fans? And the one thing we do ask is commitment and effort. Yeah. We can understand it if you aren't skillful, you haven't got the pass on you that De Bruyne has, but you're going to try. Please try. And we were screaming at the screen to try, and we didn't do it. So I don't know what the tactics were. I know we're going to come on to the second half because I think some major errors were made there by Mason.
Okay.
I don't know where we were going to go in the second half after that appalling display in the first.
Cam, what do you think our tactics were in the first half? Because I was struggling to find out what they were. We weren't pressing.
Yeah,
we weren't doing anything.
My view is, in a team which is catastrophically known for so many mistakes at the back, keep playing out from the back. Every time we got the ball, the only possession we actually had from that 38% that you mentioned, Ray, was in our own penalty area and probably just outside in our third of the pitch. And we were just passing it backwards and forwards. But I mean, there was no surprise. Every time we did get a free kick, whether it was from Moura or whatever, near the centre circle, what did we do with it? Get it back to Lloris.
Yeah.
And it went back to Lloris, and every single move that City made can be tracked back from us trying to play out from the back and just basically handing them the ball, whether it was Lo Celso, whether it was anybody else in midfield, would just pass the ball straight to a City player and they'll come and attack again and then we'll defend again. That's all we did in the first half. I believe we had one shot in the first half, which was Toby off target. And it was the only time, I think, after 38 to 39 minutes that we actually broke into their half. Now, I've seen David versus Goliath matches before. We all have. And I can assure you that if that was Grimsby Town, bottom of the third division, playing against Manchester City in the cup final, they would have been in that half more than we were. And that is a question we need to ask ourselves, because, sometimes you just have to give it all and you just go for it.
Yeah.
I concede a few goals back behind you because they're better than you. But I mean, did we even get into their half in 40 minutes? What was the game plan to me was bore them to death. And then maybe they might make a mistake, we might get a goal. I mean, I cannot see any other game plan.
But don't you think that our defence deserves some credit? They had a bit of luck. There was a bit of last-ditch defending and blocks in there, so they did some good stuff, didn't they? to stop them scoring. Steve?
Well, I would say the two players who, strangely enough, came out of it, I think, with a reasonable amount of credit were actually Dyer and Toby in terms of their defence play. I think their movement of the ball once they got possession when we were moving forward was too slow. But, yeah, I think they did okay. I thought Aurier was utterly shocking. Reguilón huffed and puffed, but was pretty unproductive. And I think made a mistake early on, which I couldn't understand what he was doing. So defensively, Ray, I would say the centre-backs did the best they could. Lloris made a good couple of saves as well. But you don't win games by your centre-backs playing, I don't know, blocking a couple of shots and the goalkeeper making a few saves.
Well, Cam, going in 0-0 after the first half, you'd have thought we would have said, okay, we got lucky here. They were a bit profligate in front of goal. We had some good blocks. Let's actually go for it in the second half. What did we actually do, Cam, in the second half?
Well, I thought that the game plan was similar to the one against Southampton, where first half we were woeful, horrible, terrible, and then made a comeback in the second half. And I think in the first 10 minutes that we started, we did make a comeback because we actually got into their half. And Lo Celso actually had a pretty good one shot on target, which the goalkeeper actually had to make a save, and I think that was our only shot during the whole game. So from that first 10 minutes, it felt like, hey, maybe, this was the game plan all along, wear them down in the first half and then sucker punch them in the second half. And probably that's what the game plan was. Unfortunately, it didn't work because you are playing City. And the only way I think that you could play City, even though Villa lost, was by high pressing them. You don't high press a team in your own penalty box, and that's what we were doing. There was nobody in their half of the field that could hold the ball. Son's inability to hold the ball completely. I mean, he was like, "Don't pass me the ball, whatever you do." Kane looked like, half the player that he was, and probably hasn't trained, was injured, and he can't do everything himself. And Mora kept falling over. I know he had the ball a lot more, but he was straight over. And I think he didn't get half the fouls that he expected to get because they weren't fouls. He just went over.
Yeah, I think the disappointing thing for me was when we did move the ball quickly, we were able to make some really good possession. We got the ball forward quickly, we passed it quickly, and then we didn't know what to do with it. So the ball came back to Toby and to Dyer, and the usual rubbish happened. So I'm not sure what the game plan was, even if it was a game plan there. So, but again, let's talk about I think we were a bit better in the second half. But Steve, talk us through I don't know what my camera's gone off for. Apologies, guys.
We can see you fine.
Yeah, we can see you.
So I'm not sure. Steve, talk us through the first goal. Sorry, talk us through the goal.
Indeed, the only goal. Well, what we had was, I think it was Sterling racing down the left-hand side of the Man City pitch, and Aurier was chasing after him. And even though he was not facing the goal and was in not a particularly dangerous position, decided to foul him. At the time, I thought, why on earth would you do that? And I thought, well, at least they don't have the best free kick taker in the league. Oh, hang on a minute, they do. Idiot isn't a phrase that describes that behaviour enough. But it was utterly idiotic. And then, of course, we get De Bruyne on the ball, and I think it was Sissoko who was supposed to put in a challenge to their centre half and sort of jumped around a bit, wriggled, I would say. I mean, he's a lightweight, isn't he, Sissoko? You couldn't expect him to compete with anyone. I mean, the man is built like a heavyweight boxer. He must be able to put an oncoming centre half off his stride to stop him from putting the ball into the net. And that's exactly what happened. I think Aurier was on the post as well, but of course he left a nice little gap between himself and
if he'd stayed on the post, he hocks it off the line.
He does, yeah. It would have hit him and gone away. That's why you have people on the post to become an extension of the post rather than to be an extension of the net. I just despair with it really. Yeah. But we didn't deserve it, did we?
No. Going back to your thing,
I just want to say one thing about we had a break in the second half where I think Kane had the ball and Kane delayed a lot on chances, and he saw that Aurier was on the left of him and thought, I can't really pass it to him because what's he going to do? In the end, he felt he had to, and he did. And then with Reguilón coming on the overlap, Holberg put a perfect ball out of play. And it was a ball any three of us in a five-a-side game could have played and we could have got the correct weight on. We were shocking, I'm afraid. And I think the only reason Kane delayed that pass was because he thought, I can't give it to any of these players.
Yeah, I mean, Sissoko is the same guy who didn't jump with Balbuena when we were 3-0 up and they brought it back to 3-1. So he just obviously can't defend, so I don't know what he's doing in there, but we'll come back to those guys.
Yeah,
Cam, I mean, let me talk before Cam does. I mean, again, I was just thinking when it's a question of when City score, not if they score. You know, I don't think we had any intent to try and press these guys, try and stamp our authority on the guys. Why don't we put them on the back foot? Because they're not good when they're defending. They're only good when they're attacking. So why don't we attack them? All right, if we ship a goal, fine, but at least we die trying, don't we? It's again, I would have thought Ryan Mason would have been more attacking, but again, it looked like a Mourinho team to me.
Yeah,
just sitting back. Cam?
I mean, what I feel for Mason, I feel a lot for Mason. He bought Dele on, who did absolutely nothing. Again, he was another ghost who disappeared.
Oh, he didn't have long though, did he? And then he bought Bergwijn on for 2 minutes. So what can you do in 2 minutes?
Fair enough for Bergwijn. I think that the move to bring Sissoko on must have been the most shocking one of all. Okay, you start with your team that you start with. We didn't agree with it. Fair enough. But if you are in the situation which you are in, then surely that was a game where you would have put Lamela in. At least he'll hustle, he'll bustle, he'll do something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody knew that Sissoko would do exactly what Sissoko did, which is just be a lump in the midfield. And fair enough if we're 2-0, 3-0 up, and you put Sissoko on to maybe break stuff up like that. But if you're in a cup final where you haven't scored a goal yet, and you need someone to hustle in their half of the pitch, and this is the main point I'm trying to make, in their half of the pitch, then you would have probably wanted someone like Lamela. The fact that all the game was played in our half of the pitch makes it a completely one-sided game. And I think that if Sterling had his shooting boots on, Mahrez had his shooting boots on, and Lloris actually was probably pretty outstanding, we were looking at a 6-7-0 defeat today.
Yeah, could have been a cricket score there, yeah, definitely. So we lose again, Steve, as normal. I mean, just a quick question now. Let's not talk about the match anymore because it's all depressing. We know what happened. Is this team a team of bottlers, though? Are they just cannot get it? When it comes to big matches, they just don't have the intestinal fortitude or the experience or whatever you want to call it to actually get over the line. Is that what we're talking about here? Or what's the problem?
I mean, it looks like that, doesn't it? It's the classic Spursy stuff. I longed for a strong captain in midfield who was prepared to shout at them and get them to move. You know, in the first half, I think Aurier made one of his many mistakes. And if I'd been there, no, it was a free kick. He gave away, was it more? I think I gave a free kick on the edge of the box and you've still got De Bruyne there. And in fact, the wall blocked it. But we need a captain who goes up to him and screams at him.
That was Lo Celso, actually.
Was it Lo Celso, was it? Who pokes him in the chest and says, what do you think you're doing? Yeah. Why on earth would you do that? We need that, and we don't seem to do that. Periodically, Højbjerg clenches his fist and growls, but it's not the same, is it, as getting hold of your players who aren't performing by the scruff of the neck and getting them to perform. You almost want them to be scared of you to get them to do something.
Yeah. Cam, let's not talk about the match anymore. Where do we go from here, Cam? Top four's not going to happen. Where do we go from here?
I mean, I'm glad that you asked me. I'd like to say a couple of things about that. One is, I do admire Ndombele for one thing. He's been the catalyst for getting rid of two managers, destroying Pochettino, who for all his faith tried him, and Mourinho. And let's see who's going to be his third victim. So it'll be good to see if we can get some change in that thing. Lo Celso came to us with a lot of promise. Was in the midfield in the Argentinian team. He was playing pretty well. It's not happened since. Yeah, he got injured. But why is it that these players with so much promise come to Tottenham and become worse players rather than better players? And that is becoming a big issue for us. Because can you name a signing in the last 2 years, 3 years that you've been excited about? Or that you can think that we've brought somebody in that is actually transformative for the team, that has made the team any better than it is? Every single person we sign has actually started off pretty well, maybe. Bergwijn is another example, and have just deteriorated what's coming into Tottenham. So there is some rot going on somewhere within the team, where it is, what it is. But I think that rot really needs to be rooted out, because we could bring in all these players, but we know what's going to happen to them. They're going to become Spurs players, and they're going to be useless. And I can't think of any other team signed the players that we have, none of which have set any of us alight, or any of us would probably put on our team sheet to be in the first team next season. And that really is going to say something about the state of the team.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, we haven't talked about the ESL, we don't want to talk about it. But Steve, where do we go from here now? I'm going to be closing it now because I'm too depressed to talk anymore. But tell us where we go. Yeah. Where do we go from here now, Steve?
Well, I would say that we've got a caretaker manager. We need to get a manager who is going to oversee.
Who do you want, Steve? Who do you want? Tell us who you want.
I don't know. I know that
Graham
we've talked
Potter?
about. Oh, would he come? I don't know. Is he too inexperienced? No. Brendan Rodgers.
I'll come to you, Cam.
We talk about these managers. I don't know. Well, I just want a manager who is come in and is prepared to get rid of them.
But let me ask you a question, Steve. Is Tottenham such a big draw anyway? Why would Brendan Rodgers leave Leicester and come to Tottenham?
I know.
Is it a big draw?
Leicester are a better team. We're delusional at times, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But having said that, what we do have is we have a fantastic ground. We have a fantastic training facility. Everything's there in place, including a massive debt, of course. But we need a strong manager who's going to take on what appears to be the dressing room and get rid of some of these players and be brave. Say to Son, you're coming off. If you play like that, you're coming off.
You seem like you've just described Jose Mourinho there.
No.
Well, I do like to think that there would be some sort of idea about how you actually play football as well, rather than whatever it was that Mourinho has done throughout his career.
So who do you want to be the next manager, Steve? I'm going to come to get Cam's version as well.
Oh, God. I think Brendan Rodgers would be good, actually, because I think it blends robustness with football.
Okay, good. Cam, where do we go from here, and who do you want as the next manager?
Well, I think that we're moving probably much more closer, and I think that my understanding is that someone like Klinsmann is probably somebody who's available, who's got experience, who's managed a number of national teams, and not scared of rocking the boat, that could come in and maybe make a difference. So being realistic, we know that he's available, he could do it. I would probably go for someone like Scott Parker. I would definitely not go for Brendan Rodgers, because what has he actually done? And any manager that's sitting at Leicester saying he's not interested in the Tottenham job, why would we be interested in that manager in the first place?
Okay, so you want Scott
would be an ideal. Nagelsmann would be an ideal person, but with the vacancy at Bayern Munich, you just don't know. So those would be my three choices. But I'd have to agree with Steve. It's not just about the dressing room, because the dressing room is a mess. It's about the players' lack of enthusiasm, lack of ability, and the lack of drive and energy on the pitch. I mean, one of the commentators today described the Tottenham performance as Tottenham Hotspur. They're like a submissive team. We're like the one that likes to be beat. We're the one that likes to roll over and take it. Submissive teams don't win anything.
No.
Submissive teams don't get anywhere. And if anything you can say about Spurs this season, we're a submissive team.
Yeah.
And and I don't like that. Nobody feels good about being like that. But that defines us down to a T.
Yeah. So in terms of who I want, I've got three options here. And you're going to laugh at me, Steve. So hold your laughter for the moment. I want Graham Potter. It could be a good option. Eddie Howe is another option. And then maybe potentially the manager of Julian Nagelsmann's an option. I don't think Nagelsmann's going to come, so I would want Eddie Howe or Graham Potter. These are the types of guys who are going to look up to Spurs. They want to come to Spurs and actually achieve something. People like Nagelsmann is just a stepping stone to Bayern or a bigger team. People like Eddie Howe and Graham Potter, they'll actually want to achieve something at Tottenham, and I think they'll be more driven to do it. But again, the real problem is not the manager, the players. The real problem is the board, who will not invest in players and will sort it out. I mean, look at Ndombele. He was like a world beater when he was playing for that French club against Man City. They beat Man City home and away. He was a world beater. He comes to Tottenham and he's just rubbish. I mean, it's something that we do that's, as Cam said, is rooted in our club. that we need to get rid of. Now, there's been lots of protests about ENIC out, ENIC, they're not going anywhere, they don't want to sell. So, I mean, I think we've got mid-table mediocrity to look forward to, unfortunately. We're not going to get top 4 this year. We'll be lucky if we get Europa League. So that's where we are. Let's take your final thoughts on the match. I'm not going to do takeaways because it's just depressing. What's your final thoughts, Steve? And then we'll close it.
Well, I think it's moving on from Kamal's point about being submissive. We played like we'd been caught in the corner by the school bully, and if we gave them our sweets, they wouldn't punch us as hard. And that's how we played and how we behaved. And there's no passion, there's no pride. I think there should be some self-pride from the players as well. You know, if the manager tells you to do something and it's not working, you take it into your own hands to try and perform and make things happen. We did none of that.
Yeah. Cam, your final thoughts on the match and just generally in Tottenham?
My final thought, and I know it's going to surprise you, Ray, because you don't know like this, but I thought Harry Winks did pretty well today. And compared to how badly...
We're getting somewhere when we're praising Harry Winks, I tell you.
The bar is so low, it's unbelievable.
The bar is so low. And with that low bar, he could have gone underneath it. But I think that actually was a bright light today. And I'm hoping that this is a beginning of something good for Tottenham. The takeaway here is that we've got better players playing for other teams than we have playing for us. And by that I mean Skip, Sessegnon, get some of this rot out and bring our own players home.
Yeah. No, okay, guys. Then, you know, I can't but echo what everybody said here. So, thanks everybody. Thanks everybody for listening to the Spurs 9501 podcast. Thanks to all our YouTube viewers, our podcast listeners. It's very, very good to have Cam back. Welcome back, buddy. Good to see your health. Steve, thank you again very much. So it's goodbye from Ray in London. Steve?
Goodbye from Steve in London.
And I'm going to leave the final word to Cam.
Yeah, goodbye from Florida. And even though we lost today, come on you Spurs.
Come on you
Spurs.
Spurs.
On you Spurs. No, I want come on you Lily White, Steve. Come on.
Come on you Lily Whites.
Love it. Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Spurs 9501 podcast. Stay in touch, continue the debate, and let us know what you want to discuss by finding us on YouTube. Tune in after the next match day for more insight. Thanks for listening.